Hi, I'm Nicolette.
I'm Radu.
I'm Charlotte. And I'm Julia. We're 4 students from the Technical University in Delft. We did a case study for our minor international entrepreneurship and development in Kenya. We worked together for a minor with a startup based in Amsterdam called Layco Medical Devices. Layco develops new, affordable and sustainable medical devices for low and middle income countries. For our time in Kenya, we did a business and technical validation for Avela. That's a vacuum extractor designed by Layco Medical Devices. A vacuum extractor is a medical device that assists in natural birth in the second stage of labor. Here in this picture you can see how a vacuum extractor works. We brought the newest prototype of the Vela to Kenya to show to possible end users and gather feedback from them on the new medical device. In our time in Kenya, we stayed mostly in Delft. This is a small family town which mostly consists out of hospitals. Here in this video you can see a small impression of the place that we were for the whole time.
So for the business validation we talked to a lot of stakeholders among gynecologists, nurses, procurement officers and distributors. For this we wanted to find out about the life cycle of the currently used vacuum extractors and which ones were already used. About the stigma around the vacuum extractor, about the amount of usage and about the cleaning process. The technical validation we did 2 days in Eldoret and 2 days in Kisumu. And for this it consisted out of 2 parts. One part about the mannequin study. It was about the usability of the device and of the current prototype and the comparison between the already used vacuum extractor and the Vela, our current prototype. And the second part was about the assembly and disassembly. And this was especially about how easy could it be taken apart and how easy could it be assembled back together. And we did this 2 days in Eldoret and in the hospital St. Luke's Hospital, and a small part in MTRH, and in Kisumu we did it in JOTRH and Avenue Hospital. The most important thing that we've noticed is that there is a very social economy here. In advance we wanted to schedule all the meetings via LinkedIn or via call, but when we came here we noticed that we could only get in touch with new people through other people. So we've already met some people and then they forwarded us to other people.
Now let's talk about what we found out from the interviews that we conducted. The one thing that all doctors have told us is that there is a general stigma about the usage of vacuum extraction devices. Mothers often prefer to go for a C-section instead of a vacuum extraction, and this is widely because of lack of knowledge around the procedure. Besides that, mothers often get influenced by nurses. So for instance, if a nurse has a bad opinion about vacuum extraction, then the mother often feels the same. In this way, even if the gynecologist recommends going for a vacuum extraction, the mother can refuse it if she feels uncomfortable. And in the end, the doctor's hands are somewhat tied because one of his duties is to make the patient feel comfortable and safe. Another very big problem that hospitals and patients have is the lack of financial resources. For instance, the hospitals usually operate on a very, very tight budget. This makes them make compromises here and there, and one of the things that they usually compromise is the quality of services, where they end up bending the rules in order to be able to accommodate all the patients. So for instance, in most public hospitals, the kiwi, which should be disposed of after one use, is actually used up to 5 times before getting thrown away. Finally, the cleaning and sterilization procedure goes as follows. First, the nurses get hold of the equipment and they clean it in soap and water, and then afterwards in bleach. This picture shows the 3 containers for bleach, for soapy water and for clean water that are used to clean the equipment in the first stage. Then the sterilization part begins. The sterilization can be done in 2 methods. First is chemical sterilization, and the second one is steam under pressure sterilization. In the first one, it is used high-level disinfectant, and in the other one, it is used an autoclave.
Next to all our serious work, we of course did a lot of fun stuff too. For instance, we tried local food, as called ugali, and we also went to concerts from Kenyan artists called Nyasinski in Eldoret. A lot of people came from all of our other country to go there. We went there with our Kenyan friend Eve and some of her friends too. Next to that, in our free time, we went to the Maasai markets to explore nature as well, like the waterfalls and the Kakamega rainforest. Considering the fact that the World Cup was also held during our time here, we of course watched those games too. We watched them with Mercy, a friend who we made in the hospital. If you remember Eve, who we talked about before, her mother has an orphanage here, which we also visited. It was quite impressive to see that she got street kids off the street and got them into schools and clean again. Given the fact that we were in December, we also of course needed to celebrate all the fun stuff which came with that. Like Sinterklaas, which we did in a typical way with poems, and Kerst and Yule, her birthday, which we celebrated as well. Next to that, we also went on vacation, of course. It was a holiday, the Christmas break. We went to explore nature again, to, for instance, the Masai Mara, but we also went to the beach, and we celebrated New Year's Eve at Beneath the Baobabs. That's like a festival in Kilifi, which is in the coast. We also had some other typical local experience. We, for instance, ate at our host's place, which gave a good insight of how everything works in a local home. Next to that, we also got a haircut, or at least Nicolette did. It didn't quite work out, but it was good to see you for once. We also went with a lot of bodas, and we went to the to St. Luke's, that's the hospital we talked about before, Christmas party, which we also needed to put up an act together, which we did in a typical Dutch way.
Overall, we really enjoyed our time here in Kenya. We met a lot of new people, we learned new stuff, and we also learned a lot about the country, about the cultural differences. Kenya, see you next time!